they should be apologizing. They should be apologizing. They should really be apologizing for what they put you through and what they did to you. But instead, they are going to punish you for what they did to you. And it's truly sick and it's twisted. And I cannot stand people like that. And once I see that pattern in an individual, I'm getting your ass away from me. You are a narcissist. I don't want to deal with you. Because normal, level-headed people, they apologize. When they do something to hurt somebody, they apologize, they fix it, and they don't do it again. But there are people out there that they hurt you, and then they're going to punish you for what they did to you. They're literally going to hurt you. They're going to hurt you, and then they're going to hurt you again for being hurt, if that makes sense. So another thing that you have to understand and make peace with is understanding that some of you guys are waiting on an apology that you're never going to get. So don't beat yourself up for an apology that you don't receive. It's okay. It's okay. As long as you release that person and from your heart, and you make peace with understanding that that person was unfortunately an unwell person that gained access to you, you will be able to move on. But don't break yourself for an apology that you don't get, because sometimes you will not get it. If it's a narcissistic person, you will not get an apology. As a matter of fact, you may get even more abuse or stalking, gang stalking, whatever. It's just probably going to just get worse anyways. So don't expect that. But truly, honestly, be careful with narcissistic rage. And you guys know I love you guys so much. Ladies, I love you guys. Gentlemen, I love you guys. Please, narcissistic rage is real. Okay? Narcissistic rage is real. I'm not saying that every narcissist you separate yourself from may go into narcissistic rage. It doesn't happen all the time. But for high functioning narcissists, they may end up going into a narcissistic rage, okay? Let's talk about narcissistic rage. Okay, now narcissistic rage is different from a smear campaign. We do know that when you break away from a narcissist, they do the smear campaign thing, because every narcissist is textbook. Every narcissist is the same. Every narcissist is a replica of the last one. They're no different. But right now, we're going to talk about narcissistic rage, which is what Cardi B is going through with Offset currently. Now, narcissistic rage, this is what the narcissist does that you have to be scared of, because this is where your life is on the line when you're dealing with narcissistic rage. What happened with Yolanda and Selena, that was narcissistic rage. When the narcissist realizes that their victim is about to break away from them, or the narcissist realizes that they are going to lose access to their victim or their favorite person, they go into narcissistic rage, where now it's like, if I can't have you, no one can. Now, Cardi B briefly spoke about this week how Offset threatened to take her life and to take his life as well. Me personally, after seeing those texts, she should have a bodyguard with her 24/7. And she also should not allow him to see her children, because right now he's in narcissistic rage. Okay? He's in the narcissistic rage. And when somebody is in narcissistic rage, that's when they feel like helpless, like they cannot possess their victim. They know it's never going to change. They're never going to get their victim back. So now they're thinking about taking lives. Okay? So that's why it's important to not allow a narcissist to possess you, because once they feel like they're going to lose that grip on you, they start trying to threaten your life or may even take your life as a result of narcissistic rage. So the first thing that you have to remember, ladies and gentlemen, when you're dealing with a narcissist, this person has a strong spirit of possession. This person has the spirit of Jezebel. Narcissists have the spirit of Jezebel. They want to possess you. That's why I tell people, if you want to test if someone's a narcissist, tell them no. If you want to test if somebody has a Jezebel spirit, tell them no. Because those people don't do well to declines. They don't do well to boundaries, and they don't do well to no's. So if you want to test if somebody is possessed by the spirit of Jezebel, or if somebody has the spirit of narcissism living in them, tell them, no, I can't do that. I don't want this relationship. I don't want to be friends. I don't want this job. The minute you put some type of decline in, they are going to start to spaz out. That is the number one way to find out if someone is a narcissist. It's not hard. And these tactics that I'm talking to you about, you don't have to know this person for months for this to work. Even in the early stages, if you tell a narcissist no, they're going to try to convince you why you should say yes. Convincing is also a way they try to mask it. Let's say you're first dating someone that's a narcissist, right? And it's like the first date and it's in the early stages. They don't want to show you that they're violent yet. They don't want to show you that they're aggressive yet. They don't want to show you that they're a pain in the ass yet. They have to cover that up because they have to put on a persona for you. So it's easy to catch them in a lie or catch them, in a ditch or let them fall into a ditch is when they ask you for something and you say no, or they ask you something personal and you say, I'm not comfortable answering that. They can't straight up unleash on you like a wild beast because they don't want to blow their cover. What they're going to do is they're going to question, but why? Why can't you share it? But why? Why can't you tell it? Because they don't know how to take no for an answer. Narcissists don't take no for an answer. They don't understand boundaries. No, they have a socially awkward problem. We'll talk about that in another video, how narcissists are socially awkward. They have a social awkwardness problem. So they don't understand no. They don't understand that no doesn't mean convince me, right? So the problem is when the narcissist has already possessed you, meaning they are in a relationship with you, they have a child with you, they're in a friendship with you, they're embedded with you, they're already doing business with you. When the narcissist has already attached themselves to you, meaning the love bombing worked and they are now an active part of your life, right? They got in. You let them in through your door. Now they're in, right? The problem is when it's time for you to break free, they may go into a narcissistic rage. Now, the narcissistic rage is what causes the narcissist to do something that is extreme, meaning taking someone's life. Now, do all narcissists go through narcissistic rage? Not all the time. Some of them don't get to the point where it becomes a rage, right? But some of them do, depending on how intimate the relationship or the friendship was. So he's already threatening to take her life because he's in a narcissistic rage, okay? That's why you guys see all those videos of girls that broke up with their boyfriends and their boyfriend took their life, or broke up with their husband and their husband took their life. That was a result of narcissistic rage, where they feel like they can't possess you. So because they can't possess you, because I can't have you, no one can. So I'm going to just take your life. That is narcissistic rage. Another form of narcissistic rage, there's also spiritual narcissistic rage, where you try to get away from a narcissist. This is very popular in island cultures. A woman is married to a narcissistic man, and she decides that she doesn't want to be with him anymore because he's abusive, and she leaves the marriage. And then he goes to a shrine, or he goes to visit a practitioner to put a curse on her so she never gets married again. That's spiritual narcissistic rage, where you're trying to break away from the person and you do, and they go behind closed doors and they try to attack you spiritually or bind you up spiritually because they're upset that you left. So these things that people do, like once you understand how narcissists operate, how narcissistic people operate, you're going to be on guard about narcissistic rage. And narcissistic rage also happens spiritually. There was a time I was working with a client who started becoming very verbally abusive to me. I had a feeling that this man was involved in the dark arts. And when I stopped working with him, I had to do like Psalm 23 and Psalm 91 for like 7 days straight and go on a fast, because I know he was going to try to spiritually attack me when I decided to not work with him anymore. I know because he couldn't physically get to me because he was a client, I know he was going to try to spiritually send arrows my way. Okay, so narcissistic rage also applies on a spiritual level as well, where you get away from a person and now all of a sudden they're attacking you in their dreams and they're trying to attack you on the spiritual plane. Okay, so you have to understand that when you're dealing with a narcissistic person and you ignore the signs and you let them into your life, they feel like they have a possession over you. Okay, this happens with narcissistic bosses. Okay, the boss starts to feel like they own you and you are their property. And when you move to go on to another job, a better opportunity, they take it personal, right? They take it personal. And let's say that you are in a particular industry, that narcissistic person may go through a narcissistic rage, and they call the new place that you're working at and they get you fired at the new place that you're working at. That's narcissistic rage, where when the narcissist loses possession of their victim, they go into a spiral and they start unraveling. That's why I tell certain women, if you're leaving a narcissistic relationship, if you're leaving a narcissist, leave quietly, leave carefully. It should be a situation where he comes to the house and it's empty, and you and your kids are already on the road across the state, moving to the condo that you rented across the state 7 hours away, and he has no idea where you are. That is how you leave a narcissist. You leave them quietly. You don't give them any type of ideal that you're getting ready to leave, because what's going to happen is they may go into a narcissistic rage where your life is now on the line, okay? Where your life is now on the line when you're dealing with narcissistic rage.